So coming to AngularJS. So what is AngularJS? So why we have to use AngularJS in UI technologies? So today we are going to discuss this, and today we'll write one sample program also. What exactly the use of AngularJS in developing applications, right? So first of all, AngularJS. See, most of the students have confusion related to AngularJS. So first of all, I want to make you clear that it is a JavaScript client-side framework. Okay, so it is a purely JavaScript client-side framework, and this framework library is available in angular.js file. So this file we have to download it from the internet, and we have to use this in our web application using the script tag when you are developing a web page. Right, all of you? Next, so what is this UI technology? What does it stands for? So coming to UI technology in computers. So basically we have some UI technologies such as first one HTML, second one CSS, third one JavaScript. So these are the three main UI technologies using which we develop a web page. Okay, so HTML, CSS, JavaScript helps us in developing web pages. Right, all of you? Now what is this web page? So web page is nothing but displaying data or information in internet. Right, all of you? So this is the simple basic definition. What is web page? So web page is nothing but collection of data or information and displaying that data or information in internet by using some websites. So basically we use websites, and in this websites we develop and we display the data or information. For example, you have something like www.gmail.com, www.yahoo.com. So technically a website is known as web application. So technically we say website as web application. So website is nothing but web application. So to develop a web application we require UI technology. So to develop a web application we require UI technology. So right, so we call AngularJS as UI technology. So we call AngularJS as UI technology. Right. So basically we have three UI technologies: 1 HTML, 2 CSS, 3 JavaScript. So these are the three UI technologies, basic or standard UI technologies using which we develop front end for our web application. Now typically to develop a web application, okay, or to develop a website, we use three-tier architecture. So basically to develop a web application or website we use three-tier architecture. Right, so I'm showing you one small diagram which I have taken as a picture in my mobile from my board, whiteboard. Right, so this is three-tier architecture. So in three-tier architecture we have three layers. One, tier 1. So the first layer is tier 1, the second layer is tier 2, and the third layer is tier 3. So technically we call tier 1 as front end, where client will be using a browser to access the website. And tier 2 is known as middleware, okay, or it is also known as server. So server is a machine on which we'll be writing the business logic. So to write this business logic, we use technologies like Java, .NET, PHP, and Python. So these are some technologies using which we write programs on server. And finally, if you want to make communication with the database, which is nothing but tier 3 database, this one. So database, the tier 3, right? So we use JDBC, we use ADO.NET, we use PHPDB, and we use Python DB to make communication with the database. Right, and the commonly used database systems are, like, we have Oracle, right? We have something like Oracle. We use Oracle, we use MySQL, we use SQL Server, and DB2. So these are some technologies which are used to store data permanently, which is processed in our application. And finally, coming to tier 1. So tier 1 is nothing but the front end. So to display the web page, to display the information or data in the web page, we use this browser. And browser understands only 3 technologies: 1 HTML, 2 CSS, and 3 JavaScript. So right, all of you, is this clear? All of you? So 3-tier architecture for developing dynamic web applications: tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So tier 1 is nothing but client, tier 2 server, and tier 3 is nothing but our backend storage system, database storage system, right? So on tier 1 we use UI technologies, on tier 2 we use server side technologies, and on tier 3 we use database storage systems: Oracle, MySQL, SQL Server. Right. So is it okay, all of you? This is what is 3-tier architecture for developing dynamic web applications on internet. Right. Now we'll understand what exactly is. Right. So yeah, I'll be answering all your questions once the session is done. How to download AngularJS, how to use AngularJS, I'll tell you all these questions. So nothing to worry about that, Sushil. I have seen your message in the chat window. Once it is done, I'll clarify all your doubts. Right, so let's get back to the subject. Now, what is HTML? What is CSS? And what do you mean by JavaScript? Right, so basically coming to HTML. Right, so HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. The main use of HTML is how to display data in web page. So in HTML we have tags, like we have headings, we have paragraphs, we have lists, we have tables, etc., using which we display the data or information in a web page. And all these tags makes up your basic building block of developing a web page. So technically we can say that HTML is the basic building block of developing any web page on any website. Right, so you might be using any technology to develop your web application. For example, you might be using Java technology, right? You might be using Java technology, you might be using .NET technology, you might be using PHP technology, or you might be using Python technology. So whichever technology you are using to display the information or data in a browser, we compulsory require UI technology. And for that UI technology, the building block is HTML. The building block is HTML. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Next, the second technology which helps us in developing a web page is CSS. Right, so CSS makes your HTML data more stylish, more interactive, and more colorful. Stylish, colorful, interactive. Right, all of you? So CSS makes your data more stylish, more interactive, more colorful, and it makes your web page look and feel very better when compared to HTML. So CSS mainly concentrates on look and feel of web page. So it makes your web page more interactive, CSS. So in CSS we use colors, we use fonts, we use borders, we use backgrounds, etc. So using all the CSS properties, we make our HTML data more interactive. So this is what is the use of CSS in developing a web page. Now coming to JavaScript. So JavaScript performs programming in web page. So exactly, HTML and CSS does not have programming capability. So once again I'll repeat, HTML and CSS does not have programming capability. So for this we are going to use JavaScript to make programming in web page. Is it okay all of you? So once again I'll repeat HTML mainly concentrates how to display the data in a web page using its tags and elements. CSS makes your HTML data or web page stylish, colorful, interactive. It also increases the look and feel of your web page. And finally coming to the JavaScript. So JavaScript performs programming in web page because HTML and CSS does not have programming capability. Right, now what I'm going to show you is, when you already have all these technologies, why we have to use AngularJS. So why AngularJS when we have HTML, CSS and JavaScript? So HTML, CSS, JavaScript plus AngularJS. So what is the advantage? So we have three main advantages. One, the first advantage of using is we can do quick development using AngularJS. Two, simple and easy development of web page, dynamic web page. And three, we can also perform our coding, JavaScript coding, less number of lines. So this is very important feature. Less number of lines, we can write the JavaScript in a web page. So quick and fast development, simple and easy development, less number of coding lines without any confusion. This is the main use or main advantage of AngularJS when compared to other JavaScript frameworks which are available in the market. Right. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take a sample HTML file and demonstrate what is the difference between JavaScript and AngularJS. Right. So on the screen you can see a empty editor page. So in this empty editor page I'll write one sample HTML file. Okay, so in this sample HTML file, I'm going to use JavaScript in HTML, also AngularJS. Is it okay, all of you? So I'm going to use JavaScript in AngularJS along with AngularJS and show you the difference between JavaScript and AngularJS. Right, so I'm going to write the basic structure of HTML page: HTML opening, HTML closing. Next, head section opening, head section closing. Next, body opening, body closing. Right, so under the head section, I will write one title. Okay, I'll write this as JS in HTML. Close the title. Right, now I'm going to save this file. Right, so I'm going to save this file, and I'm going to run this file and check whether it is working properly or not. So save the file. So I'll go to my computer. So under my computer, I go to G colon. So under G colon, I'll create one folder. So this will be my AngularJS online. Right, so under this, I'm going to take this as something like sample1.html. Right, so this is my folder name, AngularJS, and I'm doing this AngularJS in G colon, and this is my HTML file name, sample1.html. Right, so save the program. Right, so once you save the program, automatically the colors in the editor will also change. Right, now simply I'm using Notepad++ editor. So this is my Notepad++ editor. It is a freeware available on the internet. Anybody can download this. It's an open source, and install that in your system, especially for writing UI technologies coding. And this is very popular for education and training purpose because it has many features like auto IntelliSense, colorizations, etc., and keyword recognitions also from different languages. Right, so now in this we have run option. So under the run option, I'm going to say launch in Chrome. So automatically this HTML file will open in the Chrome browser. Right, so run launch in Chrome. Right, so automatically the browser will open, and in the browser window you can see on the title bar JavaScript in HTML. Is it okay, all of you? So this is the title of our web page. Right, now here I'm going to take one attribute for body, bg color as light yellow. I'll take one heading h1 JavaScript and Angular JavaScript in web page. Close the h1. Take one horizontal line. Right, so this is a sample coding what I have done, h1 and horizontal line. Simply save this program. Right, so after saving this program, come to the browser and simply say refresh. Right, so you can see this display JavaScript and AngularJS in web page. Right, now I'm going to write a small JavaScript here in my web page, and I'm going to check whether this is working properly or not. So for this, I'll take one input field set, close the field set. So under this field set, I'll take input type equal to number. I'll take ID as something like num1. So name value is not required for us. Okay, you can give name as something like empty. Value is also empty. Close it. Right, and I'm going to give this as number1. Right, number1. So simply save this, come to the browser and say refresh. So we got number1. Right, similarly I'll take one break line. I'll take one more break line. Right, I'll just copy the same thing here, copy paste. So I'll make this as num2. Right, so input type number, ID is num2, name and value. Right, I'll simply say save, come to the browser and simply say refresh. Just save this, refresh. So we have number1, number2. Right, so I'll take something like number1 as 11 and number2 as 3. So here I'm going to take one button, and when I click this button, JavaScript has to be executed. Right, so I'm going to take one button. So the button is something like input type equal to button. Okay, let us say the value on the button is something like sum. Right, and I'm going to take one JavaScript function on this. Okay, right, so first let's see whether button is getting displayed or not. So save this, simply come to the browser and say refresh. So I'll enter 11 and 3 and click on sum button. So when I click on sum button, I should get the result as 14. But when I click on this, nothing is happening. Right, so for this I have to write a JavaScript function. Right, and finally I'm going to display my result here. So in the bottom I'll take two break lines, and I'm going to take one small spam tag. Here I'll take this as result. Close the span tag, and for this span tag I'll give one ID. So let us say my ID is sp1, and I should get the result here. So result should be displayed here. Right, so save this, come to the browser and simply say refresh. So when I click on, okay, take some input values 11 and 3 and click on sum, you should get the result at the bottom. But as of now nothing is happening. The reason for this is we did not give any coding capability in our program. So for this coding capability, what I will do is, when I click on button, sum button, so on click, this is my JavaScript event which I am going to fire. So when I click on button, some JavaScript function has to be executed, and my function will be f1 function. Is it okay all of you? When I click on some button, f1 function should be executed, and this f1 function I'm going to write it under head section like this. Right, so under the head section, I'm going to write this script wherein you will have a function under this. So the function is f1. So the function name is f1. Right. So in this function, right, I'm going to take some variables var a, and I'm going to take the input fields values. So we have two input fields here, one num1 and two num3. So I should get this values in the JavaScript function. So for that I'm going to use document object dot get element by id name. Get element by id. Right. Is it okay all of you? So get element by id dot value. So my id name will be num1. So document means your browser document. Get element by id num1. So num1 means it will get the first number field value, which is 11, and that value I'm storing it in a. So similarly I'm going to copy this, paste it. I'm going to take another variable b, get element by id name num2 and its value. So now I got two values in my JavaScript function. I'll take one more variable sum. So let us say sum is a plus b, and finally I'll say alert sum. Now this sum should be displayed in a small alert box. Alert box. It should be displayed in the browser inside a alert box. So I'll just come to the browser and simply say refresh. So I'll take some initial values 11 and 3 and click on sum. Right. So what is the sum we are getting here? The sum what we are getting is 113. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert this a into integer. Parse int of a. Similarly, parse int of b. Right. So save this. It will convert a into integer, b into integer. The reason is I'm getting the sum as 113 because it is not doing numeric addition. Instead of that, it is doing string addition. So 1 plus 3, it is taking that as 113. So okay. Now simply say the refresh. Now take some values here, 11 and 3. Right, click on sum button. Right, so now the sum is 14. So now this sum I want to display in result. So this sum 14 I want to display here. I should get the result here. Is it okay all of you? Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a small JavaScript code here, and I'm going to display that in the span tag beside the result. So for that I'll say document means your browser web page document, get element by id sp1. Now this sp1 is nothing but our span tag element. Get element by id name sp1. Right. Dot. So once I get that, and I'm going to say it has something like inner text is. So get element by id name sp1 inner text, and that inner text I'm going to set it as sum. Right. So let's check it out whether this coding is working for us or not. Let's check it out whether this coding is working for us or not. So come to the browser and simply say refresh. So take the values 11 and 3 and say sum. So sum is 14. Yes, and it should be displayed on the screen also, like this. Right, I hope it is visible for all of you. 11:3. When I click on sum button, result should be 14. Right, so once again I'll right, so once again I'll say refresh. Okay, I'll take something like 14 plus 3, sum. Sum is 17, alert box, and sum is also displayed as 17 here. Is it okay, all of you? Right. So this is nothing but how to work with JavaScript. Right. If you see here, the coding is very heavy here. So very heavy means it is very heavy. So we have to write n number of lines here to perform our JavaScript. N number of lines. Right. For example, see the coding. We have to write this complete function. Okay. So almost all it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 to 10 lines of coding we have to write to perform this. And similarly, if you want to perform other arithmetic operations also, we have to do it in the same way. Now the same thing I'm going to show you using AngularJS in just 2 words. In just 2 words. Yes, what you heard about me is correct. I'm going to show this through 2 words. Okay, right, so have a look at here in the coding, all of you. Right, so I'm going to take the same body and I'm going to add one attribute here, or HTML attribute ng-app. Now this ng-app is a HTML attribute, but according to AngularJS it is a directive. It indicates that we are going to use AngularJS coding in a web page. It indicates that we are going to use AngularJS coding in a web page. Right. Now coming to input field 1, num1, I'm going to take one ng model is. Right, so I'm going to take one more directive or HTML attribute ng model as. I'm going to take this as x. So this is a model variable, a special variable which will get the value of the input field ng model y for num1, num2. So for number 1 we are taking model variable as x. For number 2 we are taking the model variable as y. Right. So similarly I'm going to display this exactly below the results. Copy, paste. So I'm going to take 2 break lines here. Right. And this result what I'm going to show you, this is from AngularJS. This result will be from AngularJS. Right. So here inside the span tag I'm going to take one expression known as binding expression and I'll perform x plus y. That's it. Right. So I'm going to perform x plus y. Right. So here I have added 2 things. One, ng-app. So ng-app indicates we are going to use AngularJS coding in HTML page. 2, ng-model. So ng-model indicates we are defining one model variable which will get data from the input field. Okay, and technically it is also known as binding variable. So what is this binding variable? We'll discuss that in detail in the coming sessions. And finally I'm going to perform x plus y. That's it. So I'll save this. I'll come to the browser and simply say refresh. So initially x plus y is not recognized by our web page. It is displaying x x plus y same as it is in the curly braces. Reason is we did not use AngularJS library in our web page. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use AngularJS library in my web page. So I already have a AngularJS library. So I'm just going to copy that library and paste that in our working directory. Right. So all of you can see this. Our working directory will be g colon under g colon AngularJS online. Here I'm going to paste. Right. So is it visible, all of you? So this is my Angular JavaScript file. I have pasted this in our working directory. Now from where I have downloaded this, I'll discuss that later. Downloading and using AngularJS library file. Now as of now, this file is in our library, means in our working directory. That's it. So that is what is important for us. Okay, right. So I'm going to use this library file under head section. Under head section, I'm going to take one more script. Source is angular.js. That's it. Right. Save the program. So this is what is a coding I have added below the JavaScript coding. Actually, this is not a coding. I'm just using the AngularJS library. That's it. Right. AngularJS library in our web page. That's it. Now, I'll come to the browser. Right. I'll simply say refresh. See, once I say refresh, you can see that curly braces x plus y will be invisible. Means initially it is not visible. Refresh. Is it okay, all of you? Now it is not visible here. Means that curly braces are binding expressions which are now recognized by our browser in our HTML page. Now I'll enter here 11. Can you see 11 is updated at the bottom automatically without any event and without any function. Similarly, I'll enter 3 here. Automatically, I'm getting the result as 14. Is it okay, all of you? So without any JavaScript function, without any event, just using two words, ng model, ng app binding expression with AngularJS library, I'm going to perform complete arithmetic operation or addition operation here. But here in JavaScript, traditional JavaScript, I have to click on the sum button and then JavaScript function is invoked and then you'll be getting the results. Right. So you can see the result as 14. Right. Fine. So I can see some message from Sushil Agarwal. Fine. Okay. Right. AJS button option. Okay. Right. Fine. See. Right. So here, I'm going to discuss this in the AJS input fields, Sushil. When I discuss the topics, don't worry. In AJS also we have events. I'll discuss there. Nothing to worry about that. Okay, right. So if you see here, in our, before I conclude the session, in our session we have huge JavaScript coding here. Whereas if you see the AngularJS coding, we have just 2 to 3 words. 1, ng app, 2, ng model, and finally binding expression. Our problem is solved. No events and no JavaScript function. We are able to perform some actions. Right, so this is the reason why we prefer JavaScript, and that too Angular JavaScript when compared to other scripting frameworks. So one, quick and fast development, simple and easy development, less number of coding lines. Right, so this is what is why AngularJS when compared to other scripting languages. Is it okay, all of you? Right, so this is what is all about today's session. Right, if you have any queries, you can put your queries here from any one of you. Right, any queries? Right, so I'll go one by one and ask you from your side, and you can just give me your reply. So first I'll start with Nagakotipalli. Right, so yes, Nagakotipalli, are you able to hear me? I'll go one by one and answer all your queries. Nagakotipalli, can you hear me? Yes, you will you able to communicate with through audio or chat? Any queries from your side? Yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm not able to get your voice properly. You can just ping me. Possible? Yes, it is all about client side and all about UI technology. Exactly. What you said is right. It is a client side JavaScript framework for developing dynamic web application. Absolutely right. What you said is exactly right. Okay. Next, I'll give chance for Niharika. Yes, Niharika Dasari. All right. So Niharika, I have seen your question. Will you be doing any project as we go on with the course? Absolutely. Like we are not going to do specifically any project. The thing is
Okay.
that, yeah, thing is that we are going to discuss all the case studies from real-time projects only. Is it okay, Niharika? We are going to discuss all the
Okay.
case studies from real-time projects only. Is it okay?
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I got that. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Are these online sessions? If I'm able to, if I miss one of these sessions, will this session be recorded and can be
Yes.
reviewed?
Yes, absolutely. After the end of all the sessions, we'll mail you the complete 45 to 50 sessions which are recorded to you. All the links will be
Okay. Thank you.
right. Next, Padmaja. Right, Padmaja, can you hear me? Right, I'll give chance for Padmaja. Right, just ping me, Padmaja, if you are available.
Hello.
Yes, Padmaja.
Yeah, actually, I'm new to this AngularJS. How should I practice this and what the program what I'm looking for?
Yes, absolutely. I'll give you each and every step how to download AngularJS and how to practice in your system. Everything I'll teach you.
No,
Once I start with introduction and history of AngularJS, and next what is MVC, and next how to download and how to install AngularJS in your system. Is it okay?
so
Right.
today's class is only
Yes.
today's class is only arithmetic sum, right? Only this.
Yeah. And like today's class is all about demo session.
Okay.
I just want to give you the
Okay.
difference between JavaScript and AngularJS. How AngularJS is very flexible when compared to other JavaScript languages. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Any other queries? I'll give a chance for others.
No.
Right?
Yes.
Right. I'll mute it from my side. Right. Sushil. Sushil. We'll give chance for Sushil. Sushil Agarwal, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Right. Do you have any queries from your side, Sushil?
No, sir. Sir, can we execute the AngularJS code on button click?
Yes, absolutely. We have events, ng click. I'm going to discuss that in event chapter.
Okay,
Right?
sir.
I'm
Tomorrow there is class or not?
Yes, absolutely. Tomorrow there is also one class. Absolutely, we have class. I'll show you some real-time examples of AngularJS tomorrow. Right? I'll show you some real-time examples. Okay. So in what places we are using AngularJS nowadays in websites like Amazon, Flipkart, ICICIbank.com, Facebook, and all these things. Tomorrow I'll show you real-time examples. Is it okay, Sushil?
Yes,
Right?
sir.
Okay, right. I'll give chance. Right. Fine. Fine. So this is a common notice for all of you. Like all the sessions which I'm teaching you online daily 1 hour will be recorded, and at the end of all the sessions, DurgaSoft online team will mail you all this to your mail IDs permanently. You can check it out through your mail IDs through links. Is it okay, all of you? And next thing is that duration is 1 hour. It will take around 35 to 40 sessions for the next 1 month. And if you have any other queries related to fees, you have to get in touch with DurgaSoft online team. I hope you have DurgaSoft online team email ID as well as their phone numbers. Is it okay, all of you? Right. So any other queries, you can just put a ping to me before we wind up the session for today. Right. Nagakotipalli, Niharika, Padmaja, Sushil, Amit. Any other queries from your side? Right. I'll just put a right. So any other queries? Oh yeah. Someone is asking me. Okay. Like right. Someone is asking me. Yeah. Like, is there a fast track batch? So there is nothing like fast track or slow track. We are going to, yeah, Niharika asked me this question. We are going to have this like a normal track only. It will take 1 month, that is 35 to 40 sessions. Like Padmaja, as I already joined course, yeah, okay. Like Padmaja is also asking me, is it possible to change the timings from 9 to 10? Like Padmaja, this time is fixed. Okay, 8 to 9 is a fixed time. Because we have other commitments also. As this is a fixed time, we can't change it. Is it okay, Padmaja? Right. Still any other queries from any of you before we wind up the session? You can just ping me on the chat window. You can put your question on the chat window. Right. So we'll wind up the session for today. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. we'll again meet for this online class. And tomorrow I'm going to discuss some real-time examples where AngularJS is used widely for developing dynamic web applications. So right, thank you all of you. Have a great evening. Good night. So we'll wind up the session for today. Right. Good night. Goodbye. See you tomorrow at 8 p.m.